Today's episode is called How to Avoid Marketing Fraud.
Educate your money now.
Hello, and welcome to Educating Your Money podcast. I'm your host, Kristen Curry Case, owner of Matnick Bookkeeping Services. I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy. Today's episode is called How to Avoid Marketing Fraud. We will be discussing what is marketing fraud, what are some indicators of possible fraud, and pitfalls to DIY marketing. Do it yourself. We would like to thank Out and About Business Solutions for sponsoring our podcast. Today's guest is Gia Foley. Gia is an accomplished graphic designer, web designer, and marketing professional based in Las Vegas. She has worked with many local small businesses and brands, but also has done work for internationally recognized companies such as PlayStation and EA Sports. She's vocal about working with a broad range of industries, no matter how big or small, from small mom and pop shops to world famous adult entertainment studios. Her designs are just as bold as her personality. And she's passionate about helping entrepreneurs succeed. Hello, Jan. Thank you for being on the show today.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
Great. You and I have worked in the past, and you do great work. And I know that you're passionate about this subject. And I know your passion for this subject. Marketing is so important for businesses, business owners. It's a way for them to get themselves and their products and services out into the universe. It's a way for them to explain who they are and what they represent. But there is so much marketing out there, good and bad, that it can be overwhelming for the average business owner. So, Gia, what type of marketing is available for the average business owner to utilize?
Well, there are a lot of different types of marketing that business owners can use. And, we could talk about print marketing. We could talk about online marketing is the most popular nowadays. And with online marketing, we're looking at things like social media marketing, promoting your website to get sales and traffic, promoting your business on a video platform like YouTube, or even digital networking, which a lot of people don't think about when they think about marketing, but it is another popular method, and people are using LinkedIn for that. I focus on visual marketing. So anything where there's visuals or any design aspects or elements, I have my hand in. And that might include things like logos, banners, flyers, business cards. I also build fully functional websites with beautiful design elements, but also marketing elements, which are important for a business to succeed. And I do branding as well. So a business may be really strong and may be doing a great job getting a lot of revenue coming in, but maybe they haven't really focused on their branding. So they don't really have a personality or a face for their brand. And so I would help them cultivate that, and we would work together on that.
And you talked about you're kind of in the line of visual marketing, and I kind of think of that as print. Is print marketing kind of dead?
It's not dead. People are still doing things like mailers or flyers, sending out flyers. We've also seen people doing the very old method in the 70s, which is handing out the flyers and putting them on people's dashboard. So every so often, I'm sure if you're shopping, you found one of those on your dashboard. But, online is the method that people are most popularly using right now. And I think it's the one that people feel most comfortable with because it's so synonymous with our everyday lives. Since we never put our phones down, we're always on social media. Even the most non-technical person probably has some hand in their phone and social media, whether they like to admit it or not.
That's very true. What are some pitfalls with business owners thinking they can do their marketing themselves?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that there's a couple trends we've seen lately with that, and they kind of relate to what I just talked about. So one of the trends that we see most often lately is business owners using their business social media like they would their personal social media. And I'll explain what I mean by that. We're trained as a society now with social media that if we post something to our social media, if we get likes, if we get comments, if we get more follows, we think, oh, we're doing a good job. And we think that people are responding to what we have to say. And then sometimes we take those same behaviors to our business. And what ends up happening is business owners are focusing on likes, comments, and follows when maybe that's not the best goal to be focusing on with their online marketing for their social media. So what we call those in marketing is actually vanity metrics. And what that means is just because a business has a strong likes and comments and engagement doesn't necessarily mean that they're bringing in a lot of revenue. And vice versa, just because a business doesn't have a lot of likes or comments or follows doesn't mean they're not bringing in any revenue. And so that's one way. Another way that business owners are treating it, their business like their personal, is by venting personal issues to their business page, putting personal political beliefs on their business page. And I will say this as an example. Recently, I saw somebody that was kind of praising themselves on their social media feed for posting political stuff. And, this person said, I'm going to post whatever I want because I want the customers that believe what I believe. And so far, no one's had a problem with it. But if you think about your business page, the first people to follow you on a business page are your friends and family, people who are already celebrating your belief system, whatever that is. In my opinion, your personal political beliefs have no place in business. So treating that business page like a personal page is actually a downfall to your marketing. You could be alienating an entire customer base by doing that, no matter what you believe. So again, just be careful with that. And then the second thing would be, the second pitfall is just overusing or abusing template sites. So yeah, templates that are like, whether using a template to build your website, your entire website, or whether using sites like Canva to do all of your business marketing. Canva is fabulous for a nonprofit trying to save money, not so great for a business that's serious about generating revenue, because what can happen is you tend to use the same templates over and over. And you're using templates that millions of other users have actually downloaded. And so that's not branding. You're not creating a unique brand. And then with the websites, those templates are designed for certain setups. And someone like myself can go in and custom create you something that's perfect for your brand. But if you're using something like a website template, they may not be focusing on the right elements when you're building that website. So that can be a downfall too.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And you mentioned relating likes to revenue. And I think, businesses sometimes don't realize that, just because you have likes, that or even that who's liking it are the ones that are going to buy from you or purchase your products and your services. And a lot of times that's not the case. You could be even marketing to the wrong group of people who are, looking for something totally different.
Yeah. And, in one case that I worked with a client for a little bit, she had a great brand and she had very popular products. But when I took over her marketing, she was very proud of her social media presence, but was really confused why it wasn't translating to income, why she wasn't getting any purchases off of her products. Yeah. And when we did a real in-depth dive, I found out that she is very popular on social media, and especially popular among women because she has very feminine products. But the thing is that all of these friends that are following her, those aren't necessarily people she should have been marketing to. And when we come into things like branding and things like that, it really does come down to helping the business owner see through the weeds, kind of. I suppose that's a weird analogy, and see where the right goal is for their business, because it's not always what we think it is.
Very true. Yeah. What are some good indicators for a busy business owner to be aware of that it might be time to hire someone to help them with their marketing efforts?
Well, there are a couple indicators, and this is one area where it's not always easy to see the darkness at the end of the tunnel before you get there. And that's another weird analogy. But, one of the indicators is being too busy to focus
Yes.
on your marketing or your branding. Yeah, and that's not one that we often think about. I think that in my line of work, people tend to think that people come to me when they don't have a brand or when they don't have marketing or when they don't have any income. But the reality is sometimes the busiest business owner actually lets their branding and their marketing slide. And when it's not something you're focusing on, what happens with those peaks and valleys in business, which I'm sure you know all about when talking to your clients, when you hit one of those peaks, it feels great to be super busy. But then you hit a valley, you're in that low point, and you're wondering why that momentum isn't staying. That is where branding and marketing come in. That helps create brand loyalty by creating a brand that you can be proud of and that your customers are engaged with. You prevent those lows from happening. So that's one way, that's one indicator. Another indicator would be to be not busy enough to actually focus on your business. Now, what I mean by that is some business owners come to me and they're very proud of themselves that they've been able to do their website, their social media posts, they're posting, they're calling people, and they're so proud of it, but they don't really have very many sales. Well, the thing is, the goal of business, right, is for us to be busy enough that you shouldn't have time to worry about your marketing necessarily. And so if you have all the time in the world to be sharing on social media, and let's say you're doing it every single day for your business, but for some reason customers aren't replying, they're not contacting you off your social media, no matter how much you post. Or in another case, maybe you spent weeks putting together your website and you're so proud of it, but now you haven't got a single sale. Those could be indicators that it's time to bring somebody in to help you focus on a rebrand, even a soft rebrand, and just polish it up a little bit and make your content look a lot nicer.
Yeah, I think those are two great indicators. And one that you brought up, not having enough time, not having enough sales is actually a good one because, like you said, you'll have those very, go get them kind of business owners who's done it all. They've done everything, but because they've done everything, and even though that's a very great accomplishment, they may not have been focusing in the right area, especially in marketing, where they should have. And like you said, they could be posting every day, but is that truly where you need to spend your marketing time?
Right.
And then an expert like you could come in and say, hey, here are some techniques or here are some things that you probably need to be doing as far as marketing that may actually bring in some sales for you.
Right, absolutely. And in some cases, it's just as simple as having a conversation. And it doesn't mean we would have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to change everything about your brand. It doesn't necessarily mean that everything needs a rebrand either. Maybe your social media presence is strong, but maybe you haven't taken a sale off that website. Let's go in and take a look at it and see where we can make this a little bit more effective for you. Or vice versa. Maybe your website is really strong because you worked really hard on it, but maybe your social media, you're just not getting any engagement. So just pay attention when you're doing that as a business owner, because sometimes it's something small,
That's very true. And so does this mean that the business owner who needs marketing efforts should just basically dump it at the marketing expert's feet and pretty much just say, they're going to wash their hands of it, and there's no need to be involved in the marketing effort?
Well, that's a good question. I would say no, it's a collaboration. So what often happens with marketing is I think business owners think that it's the be all end all problem solver to either bring them all the business or solve all their problems. And the reality is that branding is putting the face on a business and marketing is helping to give it a personality. But I am an empty vessel for that. And so the business owner, we work together to figure out what is your brand that you want to cultivate? What is your voice? Is it an elegant brand for beauty that speaks to women? Is it a healthcare company that's more gender neutral and you want it to reach everyone and you want your content to focus on a certain demographic or a certain age group? Or even, when you're looking at a brand itself, are you reaching the right demographic? And how have you been doing that so far? If you don't know how to do that, that would be where a marketer could help you. But it's not our job to just take it all over and dump it at our feet and assume we know. And that also goes for design. You know, sometimes I'll get a design job and I love doing design. It's my passion. But I'll ask these questions. And every so often I can hear the business owner a little frustrated with the questions I'm asking because I think they just assume I should know.
Right.
It's always good to collaborate, right? It's always good to work together to figure out what kind of colors do you like? What kind of font are you thinking? Because, you know, there's a billion choices out there. And so, yeah, it's a collaboration.
That's so true. I think, you know, business owners sometimes think like you will have all the answers when it's actually their product. It's actually their service. So,
Right.
and no one should know the business better than the business owner.
Oh,
So,
so true. Yeah. I mean, a great example of that is I did a recent job for an auto detailer who's a wonderful guy. And, you know, he loved my work and we were sitting down together and he said, you know, well, what are your ideas? And I said, well, you know, let's talk through what your vibe is for your brand. And he didn't really have much of an idea. But as we got to talking, I was able to figure out where we could place the color, where we could place this demographic that he wants to reach, who his target customer is. And we really expanded on his brand in a wonderful way. So
that's great. Yeah. And sometimes it takes an expert like you to kind of dig in. Like, you know, I think about myself and I don't think of myself as being creative, but once, you know, you do start talking, then I would imagine you probably have tons of clients where they may not have an idea, but then once you start talking with them, they all of a sudden it starts to come out exactly what they're looking for, even though they may have started off saying, I have no idea. But when you start talking, then they've actually had pictures in their head about how, or images or a vision in their head that they were looking for.
So true. That's so true.
Yeah. So we're kind of coming off of like the holidays, and we're probably very aware of the different scams that are available during that time. So I'm sure one, and maybe it's something that's always been happening, but kind of new, and probably with everything going on, maybe a new phenomenon that's going on, which is marketing fraud. So what is marketing fraud?
Yeah, I really am passionate about this topic. And as we talked on the phone when we first met, you know, I called it marketing fraud, but I think really we could call it is deceptive behavior.
Yes.
So with the start of the pandemic, as we know that millions of people have lost their jobs. And so, you know, what we're seeing is all these articles are coming out talking about the best ways to get into an industry that costs no money and that you can do right from your home. And while I think it's wonderful that people are trying to reach out into a new industry, what we're seeing as an after effect is actually business owners who are being scammed by people who claim that they do web design or they claim to do graphics or something, and yet they're not actually, you know, designers or web designers or marketers. And so a great example of that I'm seeing lately is designers posting to groups using screenshots of completed work that was actually done by WordPress or Wix. And they're using those screenshots in their own posts and they're saying, I created this website, hire me today. And then they're not following through with, you know, creating the website for the client. Conversely, those template sites I mentioned earlier, they're a great way to scam a customer who thinks that you are a unique designer that's going to bring them something really wonderful. And so what we're seeing is designers who are overusing, again, those template sites without having any actual artistic experience, charging or overcharging the customer and delivering products to them that aren't very polished. And so one thing I've been seeing lately over and over again, just as a heads up for any business owners, is logos being sent to me without a transparent copy. And so the business owner, you know, when you finish a design job, you should have a transparent copy so that the business owner can add that to their promotional material.
Right.
And if you are on a template site, or if you're using those as a designer, you probably won't be providing those. So a lot of times they don't provide those to their clients.
what are some indicators that the average business owner, and you probably have talked about a few of those, should take note of when potentially faced with marketing fraud, or what should they do?
Yeah, I think just protect yourself. And there's a couple ways to do that. The first way would be to make sure that the designer or the marketing pro has reviews on a legitimate website. So I never trust Facebook reviews because you can have any friend or family member or cousin review you. I'm talking about sites like Google My Business, Groupon, Yelp, and many other verified sites that will be a great place to look for reviews on a person's capabilities and on their work ethic. Another example for designers specifically, I don't know any legitimate designer that isn't proud of their work. So when you go to their social media page, you should see a wealth of content. You should see a consistent flow with their content. You know, I'm well known for my colorful designs. If you head over to giafoley.com, you'll see all of my work, and it tends to be very bold and colorful. But I also know other designers that have a more neutral style, a more executive style, which is totally fine. And when you look at those people's portfolios, you're seeing consistent work. It's a consistent body. Maybe it fluctuates here and there, but you get to, you know, there's a vibe that you get. And so their social media should definitely have work featured. The last thing would be having a legitimate website. It's the most important thing for any professional, but especially for designers. If you go to their website, especially if they say they're a web designer, if you see those screenshots of sites they've completed, don't be glamored. I would take a minute, click on those sites, make sure they lead to legitimate websites. They should have a link leading back to their social media, no typos. So just be aware that scams happen even in marketing, even in design. And trust your gut. If something doesn't feel right or feel real, I recently read an article from a woman that posted in one of the business groups saying how she felt that accepting Cash App or Venmo payments was a sign of fraud for designers and things. And as you know, I accept Venmo, I accept Cash App, and I'm legitimate. I wouldn't say the method of payment is necessarily the indicator of fraud. I would say if the person demands payment up front, that can be a red flag in some cases. If their prices don't seem to fit what you see in their portfolio, you know, that can also be a sign. I just want to say there's nothing wrong with anybody starting off in design, starting off in marketing, who is trying to build their portfolio and using those designs that are pre-done as an inspiration. But be honest. And as a business owner, you know, you can ask the person, hey, are you just starting off? That's okay with me. Let's grow together, you know, but just use your head when you're looking for those designers or marketers, because there's a lot of scams happening.
It's so unfortunate, especially with people, you know, changing, you know, or deciding to go into their passion, because I think the pandemic has really brought out many people's passion. And where, you know, they were doing a 9-to-5, and obviously if that 9-to-5 was put on hold for them, then they thought of other ways to kind of bring in money and, you know, to represent their passions, and they would go into these businesses and, you know, and then possibly get scammed. So
right.
I'm glad that that's something that you have been able to help educate our viewers and followers on. Because it is something that has recently been rampant, and want to make sure that they're educated on it.
Yeah, it's really, really tragic. And, you know, I think that there's scams out there for everything now, you know, and unfortunately, it's a tough world to live in, but if we use our heads, we'll survive it.
Yes, definitely. I would like to thank Gia for taking time out of her busy schedule and coming on the show and sharing her expertise. Be sure to post any questions or comments you may have below. Let us know if there's a topic that you would like to have discussed on the show. Comment below or email educatingyourmoney@gmail.com. Gia, if any of our followers have specific questions or wanted to get a hold of you, how could they reach you?
Oh, there's a lot of ways, but I think the best way is through my website, giafoley.com. And if you want to follow me on Instagram or Facebook, I have all my links on there. You can also check out my reviews, my portfolio, and I'm here to help if anybody has any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Educating Your Money podcast, where it's not just about making money, but about educating your money. See you next Wednesday for our next episode. Have a great day, everyone.